10 years ago, starting something of your own was not very cool. Now, everyone wants to start up.
I feel that every single person has an entrepreneurial DNA.
Who should not start up?
Who should not start up?
So, how did your journey start with TIE and building this entrepreneurship ecosystem?
To be very honest, I didn't find TIE. TIE found me.
Why it is important for students to learn about entrepreneurship?
Because it gets too late after that. Then you're in the journey of unlearning and then relearning.
Right. So, if a teenager comes to you with a pitch deck and a great idea, what advice would you like to give to them?
Hire me. Because what these kids will actually achieve, I have so much confidence in them.
Right.
You've gone through your journey of being part of corporates. You've skilled and reskilled and upskilled yourself to be where you are today. What are the 2 or 3 things that keeps you inspired in this journey?
I don't have that destination mindset. Like when I work closely with entrepreneurs, and I realize that a lot of people chase perfection to start with. So Geetika, you recently also discovered your strengths, and your top 5 strengths are developer, responsibility, positivity, strategic, and harmony.
This is, I think a game changer. So I think it helped me relate very closely to the work I do and to the people I work with.
What are certain traits which you see are very common in successful founders that you work with?
I think in most founders, especially in today's day and time, more than ever before,
Hello and welcome to the Top of the Game podcast. Today we have with us someone who has been at the heart of India's entrepreneurial ecosystem for more than 2 decades. Joining us today is Geetika Dayal, the Director General of TIE Delhi NCR, also known as TIE Delhi NCR, one of the most influential entrepreneurship ecosystem in India, which has mentored and supported thousands of entrepreneurs and helped shape some of the country's most exciting startup journeys. Today, we'll talk about entrepreneurship, the role of mentorship, and why it is important for schools to introduce entrepreneurship and thinking around it early and prepare students for future. Geetika, it's a pleasure to have you with us on our show.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you so much for inviting me, for having me here, and for such a wonderful, welcome that you have given.
Thanks a lot, Geetika. So before we talk about nitty-gritties and details of entrepreneurship, I'd like to start by knowing your journey. You have been associated with TIE for more than 2 decades now. And at that time, no one really used to talk about entrepreneurship, supporting startups. So how did your journey start with TIE and building this entrepreneurship ecosystem?
You're absolutely right. When TIE started in India in late 99, early 2000, like you rightly said, there was really no concept of a startup ecosystem at that time. And to be very honest, I didn't find TIE. TIE found me. And I'm very fortunate that it did. At that time, India had the ambition, India had the entrepreneurial spirit, but it did not have any map, in terms of what it was going to do in the startup world. And that's when actually exceptional individuals who had founded TIE in Silicon Valley, and then that is it, an organization that came to India. Our founder president, Dr. Saurabh Srivastav, really is the person to be credited with that. And he, along with exceptional individuals like Mohit Goyal, Pradeep Gupta, Arun Seth, and several others, brought it to India. And that's how TIE Delhi NCR was founded. Padmaja was helping execute that vision with them as well. And that's when I got lucky with them and I joined TIE. It was something that was a very powerful idea, that people who had achieved such success were now coming together to give back, not for recognition, not for equity, but simply to pay it forward. Sometime they had received help and now that they would be doing it for others. And that philosophy is something that hasn't changed for more than 30 years now, and that's rare. So that's what really hooked me onto it, starting something new, which would have immense impact at a scale that could not be imagined.
Right.
So that's how I got into TIE.
And you're enjoying your journey thoroughly?
The fact that I'm still here after 25 years, and yes, you can make me talk about TIE even when I'm sleeping, and I will happily do so.
I can experience it, while talking to you and also seeing you in action many a times.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I just want to help our viewers understand one simple thing. People who do not know about TIE, what is TIE and how it helps entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs? So, if you can share in detail about what all
Yes.
TIE does. Yeah.
Sure. I think very simply put, what I have found TIE to be is that we help compress time,
Right.
especially when it comes to your journey to scale up successfully.
Right.
In effect, we provide mentorship, networking. We have 5 pillars of mentoring, networking, education, incubation, and funding,
Right.
where people who have been there, done that, come together to actually help the next generation to achieve success. The idea being that we help create job creators rather than job seekers.
Right.
And it's a value creation that happens for economic development through the process of entrepreneurship. But the real power that comes with it is not just the knowledge that you will have, because it might take a founder several years to be
Right.
able to build a network of people that will be something that he or she can lean on. It will take them several years to actually understand the nuances of starting and scaling a company, or understanding funding and sort of getting lost in the entire process.
Right.
But here TIE helps them do it in a few short months.
Right.
The ability to actually demystify all this, learn from not just theoretical bookish knowledge, but actually from real experiences of people who have gone through the same journey themselves. But at the same time, the power lies in the ability to actually make that one phone call any time of the day or night,
Right.
to people who you can rely on, people who have gone through the same thing themselves.
Yeah.
And therefore, with our charter members, more than 3,000 people across the world
Right.
who come together simply to be able to say, how can I create a network of people that will ensure that the startup ecosystem remains robust,
Right.
the ideas get nurtured.
Right.
And that's what TIE keeps doing day in and day out through various innovative programs and initiatives, to make sure that not just in India, but globally,
Right.
Entrepreneurship is really the go-to way of achieving success.
Right, right. So now, when we talk about entrepreneurship, everyone talks about entrepreneurship. In fact, we speak to a lot of young students. They talk about entrepreneurship. There are forums. Every organization has one department which is
Yes.
responsible for entrepreneurship. But you have been working and nurturing entrepreneurship for more than 25 years now. So, what were initial challenges that you, as an individual, and TIE as an organization faced when you were promoting, nurturing this seed of entrepreneurship in Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem?
One of the things that I would like to say here is that, of course, there were many challenges, but to us at TIE, I don't think we ever saw them as challenges. Because truly, in the entrepreneurial spirit, every challenge is an opportunity.
Right,
So we took that as an opportunity to do more
right,
in more sectors. For example, when it started in Silicon Valley, there was a lot of focus on tech startups.
right,
In India, very quickly we broad-based it,
right,
and therefore we started working with TIE being for all entrepreneurs across all sectors. So anyone who was an aspiring or existing entrepreneur really needed to be part of TIE to get the maximum benefit out of it. So whether it was education, healthcare, retail, sectors which are not typically looked at under the startup lens
Right.
for funding particularly, we started working with all of that. So it was, a fair amount of work that went into educating the startups as well as the investors, and then bringing them together. In Delhi, we were very uniquely positioned, being close to policy,
right,
the ability to actually help create a conducive environment in the country for
Right.
entrepreneurship to flourish. And very quickly, we started, connecting with more and more organizations, more and more individuals. Also, what we realized is that when we were talking about entrepreneurship, we were breaking a lot of perceptions. We were breaking a lot of mindsets. It was a time when entrepreneurship or startup culture was not looked at
Yeah.
favorably, but the ability to actually make sure that failure was not a bad word. The ability to actually try something was celebrated as a brave effort.
Right.
And for everybody to come together to support that. But at the same time, do it in a way that helped you personally and professionally grow better.
Right.
So a lot of courses, a lot of programs were introduced, and we started spreading it because we realized that this is about the next generation as well.
Hmm.
So the ability to work with students in schools, in universities, helping develop an ecosystem for women entrepreneurs,
Right.
social impact entrepreneurs. I think we really found the opportunity in every sector and at every stage.
Right.
So challenges, if I were to look back, TIE has been like a startup itself,
Mm.
because it's not as if there is a head office giving you funding or
Yeah.
something to start a chapter. Each chapter runs as a startup. And therefore, the typical challenges of scaling up when it comes to being able to design your own programs, build the brand, and remain true to the mission, collaborate with other chapters globally, raise funds for doing the programs that you're doing, but most importantly, remain meaningful and relevant to your target audience, which is the founders.
Right.
So everything was tailored around what the founders needed. The challenge was that the needs of a founder are immense,
Right.
but we saw that as an opportunity to build and create more programs that could be useful. Hopefully, we've succeeded in doing some of it, but it's always work in progress because there is so much evolution that happens in this industry. So we have to always keep playing the catch-up game
Yeah.
also.
Right. No, thanks. So, Geetika, I know in your observation, you work with a lot of founders. You have nurtured a lot of founders. 10 years ago, starting something of your own was not very cool. It was like people always preferred going to a job. Now, everyone wants to start up. Even people who have not started up. Who have not started their own organization. When they work in an organization, they also are more enterprising than ever.
Yes.
What do you think, in your observation, has led to change in this mindset of people? And I'd like to know your thoughts.
I think role models.
Yeah.
That has been one of the things that has worked very well. We wanted to ensure that we were celebrating the
Yeah.
stories that were coming out of TIE or out of the Indian startup ecosystem, because that gave a lot of people confidence
Right.
to say that, okay, if he or she could do it, so can I.
Right.
And that ability to actually learn from others, the good with the bad of how that journey was, made people a little bit more willing to try.
Hmm.
Also, the confidence that there is much more support now available than it was there earlier. Whether it is from society, whether it is from your own friends and family, or from people who are willing to work with you,
Right.
people who are willing to mentor you, people who are willing to invest in you.
Yeah.
A lot of that was not available earlier. So it has become a bit easier to do that, despite all the challenges that a startup brings together. I think if we were to also perhaps look at reasons for why more and more people are doing it, is because of the kind of exposure that they have to stories and opportunities globally,
Right.
and the kind of challenges that are there in the country to solve. In a
Right.
country like India, at every turn, every corner, you will find a reason of doing something
Right.
which could solve a problem. And even if it is being done, maybe you will be able to do it in a different way or a better way. And that's where somebody wants to really try it out. When we run this program called TIE Young Entrepreneurs for Students, we were in a room full of parents and students. We were doing an orientation session,
Right.
talking about what we plan to do and what kind of sessions we will have with students, what kind of teams and mentorship we will provide. And obviously, these questions were coming up
Right.
as to what's in it for my child
Mm.
and what's in store, etc. But the wonderful part of that was that as TIE, we didn't really have to answer too many questions, because if a parent raised a question about whether it would affect a child's future
Hmm.
or studies, etc., it was the other parents who would start up and give a response to say,
Right.
no, let them try. I wish we knew about it during our time.
Right.
When we were 16, we didn't have any idea about what we would do.
Right.
So they want to sit in the same class and learn with their child.
Yeah.
Of course, the child now chases them away and says, no, leave me in my own
Yeah.
space. But I think that opportunity, which was not available to us when we were growing up in school, is now available to a lot of students. And that's worked very well when they are able to see other role models and learn from them.
Right. So you talked about stories, celebrating stories of entrepreneurship, and that's how it led to creating an ecosystem. People started seeing more celebrations of those people who took risk and tried to do something differently. If you could just share one or two stories which are really close to your heart. I know it will be difficult to pick out of so many stories, but just for our viewers,
Yeah.
and that will be really good.
I think, there are so many people who've created such magic in the country. What it has done is not just created, in most of these cases, not just created successful ventures for them. It's not that they've just become a successful founder of their company. Many of them have actually gone on to create an industry segment
Right.
that many others have been able to actually follow.
Right.
And you can look at so many names, whether it is Deep Kalra from Make My Trip or
Right.
Sanjeev Bikhchandani of Naukri.com. One of the really remarkable stories of our time is Paytm. Look
Right.
at Vijay Shekhar Sharma, a
Yeah.
boy from Aligarh,
Yeah.
who came out of that ecosystem of what their upbringing was and how they came and created a company called 197, and then it evolved to Paytm, which has given such remarkable digital and financial freedom and penetration across the country. And especially when COVID came, I think it really was transformational.
Yes.
So those kind of stories are something that have become a part of the day-to-day fabric of our lives.
Right.
But it was created by somebody. It was somebody's vision that came out of some problem that was solved. We have such a wonderful woman founder by the name of Rashi Narang. Many of you would have seen her stores, Heads Up for Tails.
Yeah.
Now she had a love for dogs. She had her own pet, a Labrador named Sana, who she loved very much. And this whole venture therefore came out of that, and we ran a program with Lufthansa called Runway to Success, which was a TV program where we found entrepreneurs across the country, and then we mentored them live on stage, and there was a competition.
Yeah.
And Rashi was one of the winners of that story.
Wow.
So when we see her expanding online and offline, and her presence across so many cities in the country, and so many products that have now expanded, it is she's a wonderful founder. So there are so many across various segments. I mean, a whole episode can be dedicated just to the startup stories, but really heartwarming stories
absolutely.
out there.
Thanks a lot. So these are, like you said, Paytm, Make My Trip, Naukri.com. Again, Heads Up of a Tail. These are organizations which have created an industry segment which not only India, people across the world admire, because these are real transformational companies, which have transformed the way we look at certain things in our life. Thanks for sharing this, Geetika. Another question that I have is, when we look at India, a lot of India is in metro cities, and a lot of India is outside metro cities. We see a lot of students reaching out to us, having aspiration to be an entrepreneur. But unfortunately, there is no ecosystem available. But there is a lot of drive, passion. There are stories which we have heard from tier 2, tier 3 cities. How do you think they can seek support from TIE or can be part of this ecosystem?
Absolutely. One of the good things that has happened over the years is also technology that has, become a great leveler.
Yeah.
It has democratized knowledge. So a lot of the TIE programs are also available online for people to participate in. And TIE itself has moved beyond just the metro cities.
Right.
There are 30 plus chapters in India itself.
Yeah.
Globally there are more than 61 chapters in 14 countries, but in India there are now 30 plus chapters. So across the country, the ability to actually be part of TIE in terms of accessing programs and events that TIE organizes, and also to be able to access mentors, because that is the key role that TIE tends to be able to work on, is to be able to have mentors across different sectors and across different stages of entrepreneurship across the country. The power of our mentors even sitting overseas, connecting back to their roots in India and helping the startup founders here is again something that's a unique advantage of TIE. But people in tier 2, tier 3 cities, they don't only have passion, etc. They also have something to prove.
Right.
Many times, even if you look at sports or cricket or
Yes, yes.
athletics, people say that really now the talent is not necessarily in well-fed children of bigger cities, but actually it comes out of scouting for talent across the country, because it is in these areas that you will find a great amount of keenness to actually do that and to succeed. But if there is a little bit of hunger there
Right.
to succeed, TIE has made sure that we spread ourselves, wide and deep enough
Right.
to provide that support.
Thanks. Now another question that I have is, a lot of people who started up, and therefore there is always a lot of encouragement for people nowadays to start something up.
If you're starting up to make a quick buck,
Yeah.
don't start.
Right.
It will never happen like
Right.
that. So, and also, when we create our programs, what we try and do is to make sure that you are well equipped to start up.
Right.
Because starting up is a very lonely journey.
Ah.
It's not just about, feeling that starting up is very glamorous
Yes.
or fashionable to do so. It's a lonely journey. It's a hard journey. And only people who have resilience should start up, because you should have the ability to hear no time and time again, and yet get up, dust yourself off, and get on with it.
Right.
So if you feel that you cannot take rejection or criticism, don't start up. If you feel that this is going to give you overnight money and success, don't start up. It is always a good idea to also get in enough knowledge or enough support network
Right.
of relevant people. It is also important to maybe have some experience
Right.
before you start up. So we always encourage people to start up. If you're willing to fail fast, learn fast, and get back on it, please do so.
Right.
But if you do, then make sure you do it for the right reasons. Feel that you have the right problem to solve,
Right.
rather than something that you are in love with.
Right.
You feel you have a product that you are in love with, and therefore everybody will love it.
Right.
It will probably not happen like that. If you build or perfect something in a vacuum for too long, you might end up building something that nobody wants.
Right.
So you have to be able to take and solve a pain point, but in a way that somebody is willing to pay for it.
Right.
And only then should you take it forward.
Right.
But we do want more and more people to
Right.
start for the right reasons.
Thanks. A lot of people, I see, because we work with students, and a lot of, students, they are very fascinated by funding, because they get a lot of news, and some of their seniors would have got a lot of funds, initial funding,
Yes.
seed funding, or maybe any sort of funding.
Yeah.
So I think, funding is at times overrated. But I'd like to know your opinion. You have mentored so many
Yes.
entrepreneurs, and you have also facilitated, funding for them.
Yeah.
So what is your view in today's era? And this is an advice that I'm seeking from you for my students, who are young, maybe in
Yes.
class 8, 9, 10, 12, 11, and they start thinking of entrepreneurship by seeing funding news.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. No, that is true. You're right about that. And therefore, the reason funding is overrated is because it is not understood well.
Right.
If one can actually demystify funding, what is funding, what are the alternate mechanisms of raising funds, because money is important for
Right.
anybody. I mean, I can have a great idea, I can be greatly mentored by some of the best people, but without money, I really can't take it forward.
Right.
But what kind of money do I need when,
Right.
and from whom, is important to know. Every successful founder will tell you that customer money
Yeah.
is always better than investor money.
Right.
Probably a bootstrapped founder with strong sense of unit economics will sleep more soundly
Right.
than a founder who's burning 5 crore per month
Yeah.
to hit targets and numbers that nobody asked
Right.
for. So while funding is overrated because of all the hype created around it, and it's almost become a benchmark for success,
Yeah.
it's not always the case. Many founders fail after having raised their first round because one is to be able to understand when you need money, how much you need, and for what do you need it. How are you going to deploy that money? and from whom are you going to get it? Because the right fit is also very important. You don't want to be in a bad marriage at that stage
Right.
of your venture, right?
Right.
And therefore, a lot of programs are actually held
Hmm.
to not just educate them about what is funding, but also to connect them and help in engaging with investors.
Hmm.
In TIE, we have a very, very strong investor community that participates because they're also very keen to be part of, discovering new talent and
Right.
new ideas. They are very keen to invest, and they also want to make the right investments because they're answerable to their funds as well. So a lot of money is out there.
Hmm.
Of course, when a founder goes out to find money, it's not easy to find.
Yeah.
But there is more than was available earlier. But I think if you're able to actually build a venture like you are doing now, Abhishek, you're actually putting together a value proposition. You're putting together, a wonderful set of customers for yourself, where money will actually chase you.
Yes.
You will not need to go and chase investors to be able to, get something at terms that you may not be comfortable with. When you have your product ready and when you're seeking funding with whatever you create, I think it should be the reverse, where the investors are approaching you with their best offer. Ideally, we would like that story to be for every founder that we work with.
Thank you, Gitika. I'll cut this clip specially and share it to investors we are seeking funds from. Thank you so much. Coming from you means a lot.
Absolutely.
No, thanks a lot. Thank you. So, Gitika, in your experience of working with so many founders, what are certain traits which you see are very common in successful founders that you've worked with?
With successful founders, I think one is curiosity.
Mhm.
They always want to know why, what. They will spot, opportunities like that, where they will see what is missing.
Yeah.
So that curiosity is a very important factor, because again, they're looking to solve problems
Right.
or solve it in a better way.
Right.
So that is something that we find as a core instinct in them. The other is, like I said, the ability to tell a story.
Right.
Because you can have a great idea, but if you're not able to share that story with somebody where they can also believe in your vision and they want to be part of your story. So the ability to tell a story well is something that, again, great founders do have. Resilience is, really top of the charts, because that persistence, that resilience is very, very important. We may see a success story today, but the 99 times that they failed before that 100 century mark that they were able to achieve, that many people do not know.
Right.
But they have gone through it day in and day out to do that. Also, their openness to getting mentored.
Right.
They want to learn from the best people. They want to be surrounded by people who bring something to the table when it comes to positive people that they are surrounded by, people who can help them make the right connections.
Right.
Sometimes you don't even know that you're seeking mentoring, and it has happened.
Yeah.
I think in most founders, especially in today's day and time, more
Right.
than ever before, learning velocity.
Right.
Because we may have studied something, we may be doing something, but look at the way things are changing and look at the way they will change now over the next few years.
Right.
So if we have the ability to actually learn and adapt to anything that comes our way,
Right.
we will stay afloat.
Yes.
If we don't have that ability to learn and adapt, I think most will probably, it's harsh to say, but die a natural
Yeah.
death or something like that. They will exist in some form, hopefully. But that ability to have that learning velocity, which is what is very important now with the students also. What schools need to do in terms of making sure that the children don't just come with, knowledge that has been already taught and packed,
Right.
but they have the ability to learn
Right.
anything that comes their way. So I think those are some key things. Of course, there are many, many other key, sort of characteristics of successful founders.
Right.
But these are some very
Some,
important
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Now, this question is for parents, Gitika. A lot of students we work with who are especially in class 8, 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th, their parents grew up at a time when getting a job in a multinational organization used to be a really, really big thing.
Yes.
And because their parents, wanted them to get a good job in a multinational organization, and a lot of them have achieved and they're doing very well. Now, when their kids are growing up, they don't want to do work in any multinational organization, any organization for that matter. They want to be an entrepreneur. They want to try something new. They want, they are looking for different niches and different paths. But the challenge is that the parents who are in the current generation, they are also willing to support their children. So how should they prepare themselves to be able to support their children in pursuing? They are willing to support, but
Yes.
unfortunately, they also don't know what to do.
Yes.
So therefore, this question is for them.
No, you're right. And if you look at the generations, in every generation this change comes. There was a generation where people wanted their children only to get government jobs.
Yeah.
That was stable.
Absolutely.
Private sector, nahi. You go to a
Yeah.
government job and you'll be stable for life. Then there was a time when children didn't want to go into government jobs. And then corporate sector, private sector pays better, travel, I'll go overseas, all of that. And then came this thing of saying, let's not just be doctors, engineers.
Yeah.
There are so many other career options that opened up, and parents supported that choice. To where we are today, like you rightly said, they're actually willing and able to support their career choice even to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, we're at a very, very wonderful and powerful stage in our society where that change is happening. I think some of the key things would be, in terms, as parents, one would be to create an environment at home where the children are encouraged to ask questions and explore. They're not just expected to get good mark sheets, because that is not really, at the end of the day, some of the smartest people are not the most successful. But those that are actually able to communicate their idea well, who are able to get their work done with the right set of people, are more successful. So from that perspective, to encourage that ability, even if it means some failures that come, but to create that safe space for them to learn and fail and to try again.
Right.
Maybe they can even help them try out something, to say that here's a little bit of seed money I'm giving you. You pick an idea, work on it, get some people to buy it, show me what you can. Because it's not that it is proof of whether the child will be able to do it or not. It's just the ability for the child to actually learn in an experiential way rather than in a bookish way. But more importantly, I think for parents also, to have access to organizations or tools that will help them prepare their child better. If they wanted to become engineers or doctors, they take all the kinds of tutorials that they need to get into NEET or JEE, etc. But there are other tools available to actually prepare to have the right mindset, prepare to have the right building blocks. Fortunately, we're at that stage now where there are many people who have worked hard to come up with that. They can assess their skills better, their strengths better. They can assess whether they are suited for a particular line of work or not, and how to actually build on that. So these are process-driven tools. And then there are organizations like TIE who are actually curating programs for school students, and again, they have been very thoughtfully put together, started in Boston, it's now running in India and all over the world. So if they can actually lean on either their school or other organizations which can help them understand their child better, because it's a process of self-discovery for the child. And when that self-discovery is giving them knowledge about themselves, then the level of confidence will be better. They can play to their strengths. They don't have to focus on their weaknesses. They can double down on their strengths and create something fantastic from there. So I think there's a lot that can be done. And if we can somehow get this message across to parents and to schools and students, I think that would be a great service.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. So how can we have conversation in today's era and not talk about AI? So I'll talk about AI, but my question related to AI is again addressing some of the questions that parents ask us, because a lot of them work in a specific sector. They don't have exposure to a lot of other sector because they have been dedicating their life in one sector. You work with a lot of organizations, various sectors. So a lot of parents are scared, Gitika, that AI is going to take jobs the future will be very difficult for their children. What is your view about AI? Do you think that AI is the only factor which is going to impact jobs in future, or it is going to be there as an enabler, and there are sectors which will emerge and which have been emerging like ever? What is your view about it?
No, it's both. I think it's fair for parents to have doubts and questions.
Hmm.
And that happens every time something new is coming up. We had the same kind of doubts when internet was coming in, computers were coming in,
Right.
rather, to say that the jobs will go away and computers will take away all the jobs. However, we went on to see what computers created, as an opportunity for everybody. However, with AI, we are at a inflection point. Like it or not, whether parents want it or not, it is there. They
Right.
have to embrace it.
Right.
Every child will have to embrace AI in their life. And therefore, to be able to actually make sure that you're prepared for it, learn, look at careers where the impact of AI will actually be something that can enhance
Right.
rather than take away the opportunity. It's a generational shift that
Right.
will happen. I think some of the fears about losing jobs at the school level that the students are now, it is less relevant. It may be more relevant for certain industries that are already existing.
Right.
But the students are at a great point of their journey where they know that this is happening, what are the kind of areas it will impact, and how to actually use it to their advantage. So they should try and talk to as many knowledgeable people in this area as possible, be
Right.
part of as many programs as possible to make sure that they are well equipped,
Right.
well informed, to be global citizens,
Right.
because that's the opportunity that our students now have.
Right.
That they can solve a problem locally, but they can be global citizens and
Right.
have access to the best knowledge across the world, the best mentors across the world. So yes, I think students and parents both need to be well prepared for
Right.
it.
So in addition to AI, which are some of the other themes which are also emerging? Because a lot of students don't want to go in that direction. Like, parents will get good insight from your answer to the previous question, where that everyone should embrace AI. It is like the way internet came in. All of us now use internet as a daily part. It has become a life skill now. And so likewise, in addition to AI, which are some other sectors which are emerging? If you can share.
So, I would also like to add actually that this is a good time for parents to also become students.
Right.
Because, it's not about what their children can learn and do with AI, but it might actually be quite interesting for them not to be fearful of AI,
Right.
but to take the opportunity to become a student of AI and learn. Because it's not necessary about how it's going to impact their career. It's probably going to be a way of life as well.
Right.
So they might actually find it enjoyable and interesting to also see what are the various things that they can do with it.
Right.
And at the same time, as far as other career opportunities are concerned, apart from the fact that every career, has the ability to embrace technology and therefore be more scalable, more
Right.
affordable.
Right.
It can make impact at a larger scale. Even if you're looking at sports or food or travel or hospitality, all of them are now, and you look at education and healthcare, for example.
Right.
And at the same time, there are key areas like sustainability, climate change, space, defense, very core issues
Right.
now. And India has demonstrated a lot of sort of heart and soul in these areas. There's
Right.
a lot of good work being done by startups.
Right.
This whole movement towards Make in India,
Right.
the semiconductor, the quantum mission. I think these are all areas that smart kids can really look at getting into at an early age.
Right.
Because these are going to open the doors for many, many more opportunities in the future. So one of the things also that we must remember as a country in India, just look at the number of people that we have and the number of problems that we have. Even if we look at our demographics, 65% of people below the age of 35, and we will have this immensely talented workforce
Right.
that we will have with us till, I think, and this will remain till 2047 or whatever.
Yeah.
So when we are looking at it from that scale, what we have to encourage our students or our children to see is where are the areas that they best connect with, you know, and how to actually be able to build something around that. There are enough tools and enough knowledge available for them, enough people who are willing to support that. And if they can get that support from their parents and society and schools, etc., so to say we're coming together to create that kind of ability to solve the problem of 1 billion plus people, I think we are in a pretty good space in that area.
Right. Why it is important for students who are now in class 8, 9, 10th, 11th, 12th to learn about entrepreneurship, to have clear understanding about entrepreneurship? What is your
because it gets too late after that. You know, then you're in the journey of unlearning and then relearning.
Right.
The best time, I mean, neuroscience will probably also tell you, you know these things better than me because you are in the area of working with students and understanding their, strengths better. But that is the best time when they are actually between, I don't know, ages of 13 to 18 or 14 to 18, when their mind actually is best tuned to what they will, end up doing later. So what we have found that with the students, if we are able to actually encourage them to spot problems, you know, and just keep noting it. Maybe schools can have a sort of a, problem wall or a, digital or physical, whatever, where children are just asked to notice at home or on the streets whatever problems are there, and then collectively they can come up with, ideas and solutions. They will be so, sort of positively inclined to solve those problems. Basically what it will do is to develop a problem solving mindset.
Right.
And if in that duration of these 13 to 18 years, if they can build a mindset of being a problem solver, they will be able to do that for the rest of their life in any situation that they might be in, any organization, whether of their own or someone else that they are working in. So that is one of the key things. Other thing I think for students is the ability to actually have an access to people who they can learn from.
Right.
More than the textbooks that they have. And if they can, have access to founders who have created something, failed, started again, created a success story. It's almost like a founder in residence program for a school.
Right.
I think that learning experience will probably make them learn much more than their entire semester can teach them. Some of these programs like we have, where we have modules that take them through, I think even the Venture Ready program that along with TIE that we are looking at doing is around how to ideate, how to conceptualize, and then how to take that idea to execution.
Right.
All the new age things around design thinking and all of that can come into their, way of life, way of thinking.
Right.
And then sort of if they can have access to the ability to pitching, if they have ideas that they can pitch, because a lot of perfecting the pitch can happen at this stage, which again will hold them in good stead. So many of our students, when they join the program with us, they're typically the backbenchers. They don't want to talk, they don't want to speak, they don't have the confidence, they're not interested. They're happy to listen, learn, imbibe, but they don't want to be the ones who come up and speak about it. But eventually, they amaze their parents, they amaze us and themselves when they come up and they pitch. They are so good at it, So I think that kind of thing, when we are able to help them in getting this kind of experience by learning from others and then demonstrating their own skills in a safe environment where they're having fun with their friends, etc., in doing it. I think that is something that we'd love to see, where schools are not actually making them answer factories, where they are learning and putting out the best answer to get the best grade and a trophy at the end, but they're actually question factories. They're questioning everything and then solving for it. So we'd love to see more of that
thanks.
happen.
So if a teenager comes to you with a pitch deck and a great idea, what advice would you like to give to, imagine a class 10 student?
Hire me, because what these kids will actually achieve, I have so much confidence in them. Not all of these kids, compared to our generation, for example, I know I used to slog in school or whatever. I mean, I don't remember slogging, but my brother will bring home the point that you used to study so much, but my grades may not have ever proved it. But I think compared to our generation, a lot of the young students now are not necessarily working as hard as they should, but
Yeah.
they're working smarter.
Right.
So hard work, definitely, it is something that everybody has to put in to be a success. But at the same time, they also need to know how to work smart.
Right.
And their ability and their way of thinking is also very entertaining
Right.
and very sharp.
Right.
So many times we learn from them. We keep thinking that, oh, they're students, let's teach them something or what. But I enjoy learning. I've learned a lot from my own son or other children that I interact with TYE. Therefore, the ability for us to give them the right confidence level
Right.
in knowing more about themselves, feeling that they are best equipped and they have people who are supporting them.
Right.
I'd love to be able to work with some of them, or for them to someday say, oh, I connected with TIE and that therefore I'm here doing what I am. But more importantly, because they were with TIE and they got something out of it, for them to do it for somebody in future where they can extend a helping hand. That's when we close the loop.
Yeah.
When we say this is a virtual cycle, you learned something and now you pay it forward. That is what the mission of TIE will keep going on.
No, Shaila, me and Neelam will make sure that we have a lot of teenagers coming to you with great ideas and pitch decks and present this opportunity.
That's the best thing I can.
Yeah.
I would also love to ask you, you've done so much.
Right.
You've gone through your journey of being part of corporates. You've skilled and reskilled and upskilled yourself to be where you are today. And you're making a difference in so many lives of youngsters now. What are the 2 or 3 things that keeps you inspired in this journey to say, why should I do what I'm doing?
Right. So one is that, like you said, what do you want to do? Why you want to do? So why is very, very clear, So I really enjoy what I'm doing. So like I said, I don't have that destination mindset because like when I worked closely with entrepreneurs, when I started my own organization, and I realized that a lot of people chase perfection to start with. But let's say if you have an idea, you are passionate about it, and there is a genuine problem that people are facing, and as long as you keep going around it, it really makes you happy, and you are making progress each day. So this is something which has worked for me always, and that keeps me going irrespective of a successful day or a bad day. But as long as this is journey, enjoying the journey mindset is there, I keep on enjoying. So that's
you will be part of so many of their success stories when they come up. It's the biggest satisfaction you can get out of what you're doing. So more power to you.
No, thank you.
I'm really delighted to see the success of this going forward.
No, thanks a lot. In fact, when we work with students, what we see that they know everything. There is entire world around them telling them what to do, how to fix their areas of improvement. But there is no one who tells them that these are their strengths.
Yes.
And just maximize them. Don't try to focus too much on fixing your weaknesses. Fixing of weaknesses can be taken care of definitely. Maximize your strengths, Yes. So this gives them a lot of confidence. I see a lot of happiness when we work with parents in them. They get a very good shared language to talk about, to discuss, and also to fight with each other, and the understanding grows really, really deeper. So this gives me the biggest satisfaction when we work with students or anyone for that matter, Geetika. That has been.
This is, I think a game changer.
Right.
Being able to identify strengths and then work on those strengths is, for me, a game changer. And when you look at it, it's actually a no-brainer. What do we do in cricket or football or other sports? I'm a bowler. I'm good in bowling. Therefore, I'm going to enhance my bowling skills and be part of the team to take wickets. Or if I'm a good batsman, then I'm doing opening or whichever. I'm not necessarily saying I'm a bowler and therefore forget about that, now learn batting, right? That's not what happens. Or in football, you are given your position you will play at is based on your strengths. And that is what schools are, I think they would be delighted to do, because at the end of the day, that's what the teachers, the principals, they're all working for, the success of their students. and to be able to make sure that the skills and their strengths are enhanced. So I think a lot of credit to the schools and the institutions for the work that they do tirelessly with students.
Yeah.
And if we can support them with this kind of a process, I think each school will succeed so much
Succeed so
more
much,
when
yeah.
their students collectively succeed.
Absolutely. So, Gitika, you've recently also discovered your strengths, and your
Mhm.
top 5 strengths are developer, responsibility, positivity, strategic, and harmony. First, let's talk about your strengths.
Can I be honest with you? When Shaila told me that, we are setting up this session to assess your strengths, I went into it with a little bit of, what will it be? What I'm too old or whatever. But at the same time, when I went through the process, first of all, it was very well designed, very thoughtfully designed, very easy to do, and it evoked a little bit of interest, and provoked some thoughts around it, and it was very quick to do, so it wasn't tedious, it wasn't like filling a big survey or something like that, and the results were instantaneous. I think it's not that I had to wait
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
report to come. The first thing is that from being a, I won't say non-believer, but kind of ambivalent about
Yeah.
it, to becoming quite impressed with the whole process, it went well.
Right.
And then when I got my strengths, I was pleased. Because what it made me realize is that sometimes we don't actually devote enough thought
Right.
to these aspects. We just do what we do based on our either inherent uh, intuition or upbringing, or even sometimes what your job or role requires you to do.
Right.
But it made me realize that these weren't just quirks of my personality,
Right.
but these were actually inherent qualities in me, which were strengths, especially when I look at it from an organization like TIE. And it made me feel that this is probably the reason, these qualities are the key reasons for why I have stayed part of an organization like TIE for 25 years. It's
Right.
not a small time duration, because very much core to the philosophy, we are encouraging people, we are nurturing people. That is a core reason why we do it, and we have so much fun doing all the programs that we do, putting it together. We enjoy the energy of ourselves and others, we feed off
Right.
each other's energy, and a lot of things. I mean, of course, an organization needs somebody who can think strategically, get the big picture, really, but at the same time have attention to details.
Right.
Because you're trying to execute for someone else at the highest peak performance level.
Yeah.
So it requires all of these qualities that you talked about. We focus a lot on teamwork.
Right.
We build consensus, we work together, and without having this feeling of harmony in the team, we can't really create much value for anybody out
Right.
there. So a lot of these qualities were not only maybe key reasons for me remaining at TIE, or TIE staying with me, for
Right.
example. I mean, they could have kicked me out long ago as well, but at the same time, it's also very much related to the entrepreneurs and the founders and the qualities that they have, or that they also imbibe in themselves. So I think it helped me relate very closely to the work I do and to the people I work for, or I work with, in both sense. So I was very happy to have gone through this exercise, and now it's there at the back of my mind, how I can actually use this to do more. So thank you for taking me through this process.
Thank you, Gitika. And why do you think knowing strengths should be a starting point for a student to start thinking about their career?
For the students, what do we want? We want them to be happy. We want them to be successful. We want them to be healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Right.
And to do all of that, we want them to be good citizens, right? Who are living a good life and who are doing something constructive for society.
Right.
So to do all of that, we need them to be confident individuals. We want them to have the best experiences that we can give them to learn and to be able to utilize later. Therefore, if we are able to help discover their strengths and give them the confidence to build on those strengths, it will take away so much pressure from them. That is one of the things that we also feel, that students are under so much pressure.
Right.
Pressure of performance, this whole thing around mental health, etc., that's coming in. But if they know their strengths, I was happy to learn my strengths. The students would love to know more.
Right.
And then at that stage, to be able to build a career without having to meander through the kind of challenges and ups and downs and, wrong career paths,
Right.
would save so much time and effort and heartache. It would develop a mindset which we feel
Right.
is important for a successful and happy individual to have. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I think these are things we should have been doing for a very long time. And you make me feel, why wasn't I doing it earlier? But I think it's very important to focus on strengths and nurture a child in their natural abilities, rather than focusing on browbeating them on their weaknesses. So more power to them and to you.
Thank you, Geetika. So before we conclude this podcast, I'd like you to share a message to people who are always behind the scenes. So for example, let's say every entrepreneur is supported by a family. A budding entrepreneur needs to be supported by their parents. So anything that you'd like to share for them to keep them motivated, because they are often not aware what's happening in their family member's life who's starting off their own. But anything that you'd like to share for them as a message to keep them motivated, keep supporting them.
No, I would love to, because I always felt I was a behind the scenes person, and I would pride myself on being there. But look what you're doing, you're bringing me right up here. But yes, I think it's important to keep the faith. Even for people behind the scenes, because they go through the same sacrifices and struggles that the individual is going through. So it's important to keep the faith in yourself, in what the other person is doing. Enjoy the journey as much as the destination, because even some of the founders who've taken their company's IPO will tell you that it is, perhaps a lot more sleepless nights when you're answerable to shareholders. Rather than the journey of actually, the hustle of building something, from the ground up. So enjoy the journey as much as possible. I feel that every single person has an entrepreneurial DNA, at least for us in India. Everybody that we talk to, we may be sitting and talking to students when we are doing our program, and you'll find that in Venture Ready school program also. But every mother, father, grandparent, everybody has an idea nurturing, at the back of their mind. And if they had that kind of opportunity or support, they would all love to try their hand at something. So I feel that even now, given the kind of programs that TIE has across the board, the kind of things that you help in understanding strengths, we would love more and more people to come out and connect, and if, not have the regret of not having tried. Because if you've not tried something, you have already failed. You can try and fail, that's a different, but you would have still learned something out of it. So it's important for them not to have a regret of saying, oh, I never tried, or I wish I had done that. We'd love for all of them to come and at least explore their idea, validate it with somebody. But at the same time, when something or someone is who they are supporting, the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Geetika. Thank you so very much for sharing your insights, experience, and perspectives with us today. And the work being done at TIE Delhi NCR continued to inspire entrepreneurs across the country. To everyone listening, students, educators, parents, and aspiring entrepreneurs, we hope this conversation inspires you to think differently, explore your ideas, and take the first step towards building something very, very meaningful. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you more conversations that inspire learning, innovation, and leadership. Until next time, keep watching us.